Good evening, gentlemen. It's your favorite commissioner coming at you pre-recorded once again for another edition of the League Recap. Well, here we go for the thousandth time, if I do say so myself. We got another edition of the League 13 Recap. This week we're doing Week 5. And I was thinking about, maybe getting out of these, trying to let Matt take over the recap role a little bit more. But, I don't know, there's still part of me that likes doing them. But, I tell you what, the hardest part of ending this is just starting again. But we're going to try to get into this, try to do it again, try to regain my flow, if you want to say so. And we're just going to go from there. So, first matchup of the week is between Ben and Mitch. And Ben, man, I tell you what, it's hard to see somebody, a former champion, being this poopy. You are 0-5 and in 10th place. I don't think I need to tell you that you lost this week. You didn't get the weekly low score, which is a positive for you. But, man, I think if we told you at the beginning of the season that you'd be 0-5, you'd be like, man, this just isn't what I want it to be. But you know what? It is what it is, and you just got to kind of deal with it and move on. So, without further ado, let's dive into the matchup. Ben, you did have a respectable score, 135.4 points this week. I'm pretty sure that's the highest you scored all year. But you still lost. I think you would have beaten most people this week, but you had 23 points out of Baker Mayfield. That was the only person worth mentioning, but you had double digits out of everybody except for your flex, which was, is that Bucky Irving? Is that who that is? Is that what his name is? Bucky Irving, yeah. Still very respectable score. I should have looked up how often that loses, but I didn't. But Mitch, you have to admit you had to sweat it a little bit. It was a close matchup. I think Ben was winning going into the noon games, or maybe it was close. Going against somebody who has no wins, I figured you've probably just given up at this point. You're thinking, what the fuck is wrong with me? But you pulled it back together, you figured it out, and you got the win. 21 points out of Jaden Daniels for Washington. You had almost 30 points out of T. Higgins, 23 points out of Brock Bowers, a tight end, which is a feat in itself because tight ends this year have been just absolute garbage. But hey, it takes a special someone to find a tight end in all of this garbage that's going to score you a lot of points. So kudos to you. Like I said, Ben 0-5 and in 10th place. Obviously, Mitch, you're 3-2 and in 4th place. Next matchup we have is between Perk and Nick. And as you guys may be aware, our buddy Perk here is finally getting tied down. He's going to join the likes of everybody of us except for Corey, I believe, and get married. So congratulations on that, Perk. We're all looking forward to you. And if there's one thing that I could say as a married man, sometimes, things can get a little difficult, things can get a little tricky, but I tell you what, in the thick of it all, when life leaves us blind, love will keep us kind. And you got to remember that Brittany's going to be there to pick you up when you're having a bad day, hopefully in many different ways, some maybe more favorable than others, but just got to keep that in mind going into this marriage, and you guys will be all right. So anyways, enough of the sappy shit. Let's move on to the actual matchup. Unfortunately, Nick did not get you a very good wedding present going into this week. Unlike bowling, Nick actually knows how to score points in fantasy football. He scored 128 points this week to beat you. He's 3-2 and in 3rd place. Perk, you are 2-3 and in 7th place. You had 108 points. Sorry, it's kind of all over the place. One little tidbit on these guys, Nick and Perk. And Nick has a ton of winning streaks against people. He's got a 10-game winning streak against Don, rest in peace. 10-game winning streak against Corey. Now he's got a 5-game winning streak against Perk. And I tell you what, Nick is terrible at breaking the habit of these winning streaks. He just loves winning streaks. He likes streaking. What can I say? Matchup-wise, though, today, last week, Perk, you didn't have anybody score 20 points. Your closest was your defense, which is Minnesota. A couple interceptions there, 3 interceptions, and one of them being a pick 6. Nick, on the other hand, you had 23 points out of Geno Smith, 23 points out of Mike Evans, 27 points out of DJ Moore. Geez, some old names in that list, but hey, whatever works, dude. So can't fault you for that. So, like I said, Nick 3-2 and in 3rd place. Perk 2-3 and in 8th place. Next matchup we have is between Brandon and Tim. So I said earlier, Ben, that you did not get the weekly low score, and it's because of Tim. Tim, I tell you what, man, this is tough. You scored the 5th lowest score you've ever had in this league, 97.56 to Brandon's 131. You also got the weekly low score for the 3rd week in a row, which I don't know if that's ever happened before. I would have to do some research, but I gotta believe it hasn't. There's been several people that have gotten it three times in a year, but never 3 times in a row. So, dude, I know this stuff's really hard right now, and I'm sorry, but if you need a friend, there's a seat alongside me, man. I always got a spot for you in case you need a shoulder to cry on. So I'm here for you, buddy. But unfortunately, we still do have to do this review. So Brandon, like I said, 131 points, Trump train 5-0 and in first place. I hope that's a sign of things to come here in the next, whatever that is, 5 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is. Brandon had nobody get 20 points. That is impressive considering you scored 131 points. Your closest was Kareem Hunt with 19 points, but the only person that you didn't have get 10 points was, or double-digit points, was Pat Freiermuth, however you say that. But unfortunately, Brandon did suffer a loss, just like many of us this year. Rashee Rice, the new all-star receiver in Kansas City, he's just one more light that's gone out in the sky of a million stars. But it's unfortunately a very common thread this year. Like I said, there's been so many guys that have gone out. It sucks because you draft a good team, or you think you draft a good team, and then you lose them to injury. Perk knows what I'm talking about. Well, at least Perk says he knows what I'm talking about. Tim, on the other hand, did have somebody worth mentioning. DeAndre Swift had exactly 20 points in your flex spot. Otherwise, you had some really poopy scores. Devon Achane got you 2, 3, whatever. So, yeah. So, let me... Hold on a second. Fucking... Sorry, I had a sheet here, but gave myself a paper cut. Sorry. I won't go into that stat. I'm sorry. I had printed off a whole thing that I was going to get into, but that paper is going to bite me like that. I'm not dealing with it. Next matchup, though, we have is between Mike and Corey. And Mike had the highest score of the week. And actually, Corey, you had the highest losing score of the week. In fact, I think... Let me just go back here. Let me just look at this a little closer just to make sure. I almost want to say maybe you might have had the second highest... No, you had the 3rd highest score of the week. Mitch beats you. So you had the 3rd highest score of the week and you still lost. That sucks. Let's see here. Matchup wise, Mike wins 152 to 136. Mike is 2-3 and in 6th place. Corey 3-2 and in 2nd place. So pretty good gap between 1st and 2nd. We got an undefeated team versus a 3-2 team. So that's interesting. Mike, you had 41. You were the benefactor of Jamar Chase, like most people were who had him in any of their leagues. I'm sure Nate had him in his league. 41 points out of Jamar Chase. You also, high score, but only, granted, 41 points. I'm not trying to knock that, but you did not have anybody else get 20, which is interesting. Corey, you had Lamar Jackson get 33 points. You had, what did Lamar had? Yeah, 348 passing yards and 55 rushing yards. Sometimes the way he throws the ball is crazy, but when you have 55 rushing yards, sometimes it's just easier to run than it is to throw. So, hey, good on him that he has the ability to do that. Again, weird. Only one player break 20. I did not realize this trend before getting into it. But Mike, you are going to soon have an embarrassment of, I don't want to say maybe an embarrassment of riches, but with the Vikings on a bye week this week, you got your boy on the bench, TJ Hawkinson, is one step closer to coming back, and he's about to break into that starting lineup. So you're going to have a hard time figuring out which tight end to start, if you're going to start Trey McBride or TJ Hawkinson. So I guess good problem to have. Yeah. And with that brings us to the matchup of the week, which would be between myself and Matt. And this is probably, no, not probably, it is the closest matchup that we've had this year. 124 to 123. I beat Matt by 0.96 points. I looked this up because I do keep track of some of these weird stats, and that is tied for the 24th closest matchup of all time in the league. There's been 918 matchups, and 25 of them have finished with a differential of less than a point. The closest one being the tie. So that was interesting. And Matt and I both, we kind of battled the injury bug this week, just like other people did. I had 33 points out of Drake London on Thursday night. That was helpful. What's his name? Tucker? Yeah, Tucker Kraft, obviously. Guy I've been championing since Friday. 25 points tight end for Green Bay. I'm sure you all know that. But it was just weird because, I mean, honestly, my team didn't do that great. I had Mason get me 8 points. Aaron Jones is hurt. I really was hoping I know, like with Devontae Adams, with the trade rumors and stuff, I was hoping he'd come back, but I'm guessing, despite this trade thing, that his wounds, they will not heal, kind of deal. He's probably not going to be off the injured list until he gets traded. So whatever, play the game, I get it. Matt, on the other hand, had, is it Brian Thomas? Yeah, Brian Thomas gets you 23 points, 20 points out of George Kittle. It was a close matchup. We were talking about it. And actually, I will give kudos, credit, whatever you want to call it, to Matt. He did not congratulate me on my win until I think like 5:45 on Sunday night. So, and it was a little premature because Sunday night we both had quarterbacks going, and I had a wide receiver and he had a kicker. So we both had two players going in that Sunday night game, and I mean, he battled back. He really tried to come back at the end, and I mean, honestly, in the end, he did get so far, but in the end, it didn't even really matter, So it is what it is. So with that, I am 3-2 and in 5th place. Matt is 2-3 and in 7th place. So yeah, I guess I will wrap this up. Congratulations again to the Perkinsons. I'm guessing most of the people watching this will be at the wedding or in the wedding or whatever. So hope to see y'all there. Hope we can drink some of Perkinson's beer and have a good time. And don't forget that we still have to play fantasy football too. So don't forget about these matchups coming up next week. So good luck to everybody, and we will see you next time. Peace.